Over 2 years ago, in the summer of 2021, Trevor Bauer was at the peak of his MLB career, having just won the Cy Young Award in 2020 and then getting the largest annual salary contract ever for a pitcher, signing a 3-year contract worth over $100 million with the Dodgers. And it wasn't like he was slowing it down in the first year with his new team. In Bauer's first 17 starts of the 2021 season, his first in LA, he pitched to a 2.59 ERA in over 100 innings, striking out 137 hitters. The man was filthy, and at this point in time, all of this success combined with his outspoken and popular personality, Bauer was one of the most popular players in the game. And then
some breaking news tonight involves a member of the Dodgers.
Trevor Bauer, now all of a sudden, he's going to have much bigger problems off the field. That's because a woman is reporting that he assaulted her, and he is currently under investigation after she filed a claim that he got physical with her.
New development tonight in the case of former Cleveland Indians pitcher Trevor Bauer, who is under investigation for sexual assault.
Now, Bauer has been accused by a woman of choking her until she lost consciousness over the course of 2 sexual encounters earlier this year.
Major League Baseball was making the decision to pull their teammate and starting pitcher Trevor Bauer 3 days after disturbing sexual assault allegations were brought against him.
LA Dodgers pitcher Trevor Bauer has been placed on a 7-day administrative leave following allegations that he sexually assaulted a woman.
Pitcher Trevor Bauer, days after a woman accused him of assaulting her.
Trevor Bauer is facing some very serious allegations.
Dodger pitcher Trevor Bauer is out, placed on administrative leave today by Major League Baseball as Pasadena police investigate allegations of sexual assault.
Bauer has been accused of assault, had a domestic violence restraining order filed against him in court this week.
just like that, within the snap of a finger, Trevor Bauer became the most hated man in baseball. But to be fair, there are multiple things that played into this. But really quick, this is Felipe Vasquez. Felipe Vasquez isn't subscribed to this channel. Do you really want to be like Felipe Vasquez? Consider subscribing if you enjoy the content and haven't yet. Thank you. Even before these accusations came out against Bauer, he did have a good amount of haters. Throughout his career going back to his days in Cleveland, Bauer had always been outspoken on a ton of things, whether it was politics, how much he despises Rob Manfred, the commissioner. He was incredibly vocal on the Astros cheating scandal, being all over that, accusing the Astros of wrongdoing and suspicious behavior even before the actual scandal broke out in early 2020. He was also not afraid to openly talk about the sticky substance epidemic around baseball, claiming that tons of pitchers around the league were and had been using foreign substances that were illegal by the league in order to increase spin rate on their pitches, which makes it harder for the hitters to hit, and as a result, the pitchers get better results, so it's cheating. And when MLB started to take this situation more seriously, they kind of used Bauer as the scapegoat, with it being reported that they took one of his baseballs in a game in Oakland in early 2021 to investigate. And after officially implementing new rules to crack down on pitchers being able to use this stuff, having umpires start doing mandatory checks, Bauer was outspoken on this too, saying the new rules are confusing and calling it a mess by the league. On top of all of that, Bauer had also openly argued with fans on social media, like when he had a whole feud with some random college girl on Twitter back in 2019. This same year, he also disrespected longtime beloved manager Terry Francona by throwing the baseball over the center field wall before Tito could take it from him, which is of course something you just don't do to your manager, ever, no matter who it is, let alone Tito. As you can see, Bauer had a history of being controversial, to say the very least, so with these new accusations coming out against him, there were already people jumping on the idea that he was 100% guilty of all wrongdoing without even knowing or looking at the facts and the details of the situation, which has of course become a very normal thing to do in today's age. But don't let it becoming normalized make you think that it's okay. The society we live in today has become very ass backwards. Instead of going with the innocent until proven guilty route, which is what the United States legal system does, many have started to just blindly jump to conclusions, especially to those they already had hate toward to begin with. Trevor Bauer wasn't the first victim of this, and he wasn't the last. It happens all too often. Women coming out and accusing men of wrongdoing when in reality, the man being accused did nothing wrong. Now, I want to make something very clear to everyone watching this video. Just because I'm calling out the fact that women do make false accusations, that doesn't take away another fact, which is that there are women who do actually have these terrible things happen to them. And I'm not taking anything away from that. There are crazy men in this world, if you want to even call them men, who do disgusting, terrible, and disturbing things to women, and those people deserve the absolute worst, obviously. Even with that being true, there also can be women who falsely accuse accuse men to try and go for their money and or their reputation. Both real and fake accusations can exist at the same time. In the case of Trevor Bauer, many took the guilty until proven innocent route, immediately dismissing him as a criminal who should never be allowed to play baseball again. And since the initial accusation came out in late June of 2021, Bauer hasn't thrown a pitch in Major League Baseball, getting put on administrative leave, having that extended several times before just being ruled out for the year. And through all of this, there was evidence in context to show that the accuser actually lied. There were texts of the accuser, whose name is Lindsay Hill, telling a friend that she has her hooks in on Bauer while saying she is going to get into his head. There were more texts between her and Bauer this time, messages that showed her saying that she wanted Bauer to be rough with her during their romantic encounter, literally telling him she wanted quote-unquote all the pain. Bauer was also never charged with any crime, with the DA's office stating that they weren't able to prove anything and didn't have enough evidence. Despite all of this, Lindsay Hill's texts and Bauer never getting arrested or charged with anything, in April of 2022, Bauer ended up receiving the harshest suspension of any player in baseball history, a 324-game suspension, aka a 2-year suspension. 2 years. Oh, but don't worry, there was only more evidence to come. Evidence that hurt Lindsay Hill. There was a video released filmed by Lindsay herself in bed next to Bauer the morning after the alleged attack. The alleged attack that left her scarred and deformed like Emperor Palpatine, where she feared for her life, yet in this video, she's in bed next to a sleeping Bauer, smiling, smirking at the camera. No scars or bruises to be seen, no fear to be seen. Obviously some pretty damning evidence to show that she was lying. Blatantly lying. And in December of 2022, an independent arbitrator who both Major League Baseball and the MLB Players Association picked to handle the case decided to reduce Trevor Bauer's suspension by 130 games, making him officially reinstated into baseball and available to be back playing with the Dodgers in 2023. The team now had 2 weeks to decide to either put Bauer back on their active roster or to designate him for assignment and give another team a chance to claim him for his current contract. The Dodgers ended up going that second route, designating him for assignment, and the way it now worked was if Bauer wasn't picked up by another team within a week, he'd be released, which is exactly what would happen. So the Dodgers officially released Bauer, and what this now meant was the Dodgers were now still on the books for the rest of Bauer's contract for the 2023 season, as whatever team decided to sign him now would only have to pay him the league minimum salary of like $700,000. So 29 teams now have the chance to sign Bauer for virtually nothing. Yet nobody did. Not one team seemed even interested at any point in even thinking about signing Bauer. He also didn't get really any support from his teammates or anything like that, with many reports coming out over the whole investigation period that basically nobody on the Dodgers wanted Bauer back. And I'm sure there were other players and other teams who didn't want to become teammates with Bauer. But on the flip side, I also believe there were players who would have been open to the idea of welcoming Bauer into their clubhouse and onto their team. I had actually spoken to an active player about Bauer right when the news broke of his suspension being reduced, and that player, who was also a pitcher, said that he 100% thinks Bauer should be able to come back and play, saying that he doesn't understand how, with all the evidence that's since come out, he's still not wanted, adding on that he believes Bauer's beef with the league and with Rob Manfred played a part in all of it, citing Marcell Ozuna's situation, someone who actually had video evidence of his altercation with his wife, yet just got 20 games for a suspension. So although I do believe a lot of players don't like him, I also believe that many think he should be able to play. But again, no team even showed the slightest of interest. So at this point, if he was going to pitch anywhere, Bauer had no other choice than to go across the world and opt to play baseball in Japan, signing a 1-year contract with the Bay Stars in the Japanese League, and he's been there ever since, having an overall good season numbers-wise. The 2023 Major League Baseball season, just like the 2022 season, has come and gone without Bauer pitching for any of the 30 teams, and the day after the regular season ended, Bauer dropped a video of himself revealing even more evidence that Lindsay Hill lied. Texts that were sent by Lindsay asking her friend what she should steal from Bauer, agreeing that she'll go after his money, while also saying she's going to be an absolute WHORE to try to get his money. Watch.
Next victim, star pitcher for the Dodgers. A text Lindsay Hill sent to a friend before she ever even met me. What should I steal? She asked another, in reference to visiting my house for the first time. The answer? Take his money. So how might that work? I'm going to his house Wednesday, she said. I already have my hooks in. You know how I roll. Then, after the first time we met, net worth is 51 mil, she said. bitch, you better secure the bag, was the response. But how is she going to do that? Need daddy to choke me out, she said. Being an absolute whore to try to get in on his $51 million, read another text. Then, after the second time we met, former Padres pitcher Jacob Nix told her, you got to get this bag. I'll give you $50,000, Lindsay replied. Her AA sponsor asked her at one point, do you feel a tiny bit guilty? Not really, she replied. The fact is, I was never arrested. I was never charged with a crime, and I won the only legal proceeding that took place without my side of the story even being heard. Lindsay Hill's legal team again came to us with another proposal to resolve the case. This time, however, they weren't seeking any money from me. I was willing to agree to the terms proposed. Both parties would drop their respective lawsuits, and neither of us would pay either side any money. I also retained my right to speak publicly about the case, something I have not been at liberty to do since June of 2021. As of today, both lawsuits have been settled. Over the last 2 years, I've been forced to defend my integrity and my reputation in a very public setting. But hopefully this is the last time I have to do so, as I'd prefer to just remain focused on doing my job, winning baseball games and entertaining fans around the world. So today, I'm happy to be moving on with my life.
So, as you can hear from the man himself, the two sides of this situation have agreed to settle their civil lawsuits outside of court, with no money exchanged between the two parties. Now, a lot of people who have been riding the Trevor Bauer hate train over these last over 2 years quickly started to cope by bringing up the fact that there were other women who accused Bauer, basically saying, well, they can't all be lying. Well, that's not true. They all very well could have been lying, or at the very least blown everything out of proportion, exaggerated everything, took things out of context, whatever. The point is, I said something at the very beginning of this video that I'm not sure you caught. The literal first sentence, that over 2 years ago in the summer of 2021, Trevor Bauer was at the peak of his MLB career. The peak. If you still don't understand where I'm getting at with this, let me put it this way. It's not a coincidence that 4 accusations came out during 2021, a year that saw Bauer receive his 2020 Cy Young Award, along with the richest annual salary contract in baseball history for a pitcher at the time. It's happened time and time again to a number of men over the years. They get a lot of money, they're in the news, they have clout, they have fame, and with that, unfortunately does sometimes come with women who want to take you, your reputation, and your money down. Let me reiterate, this takes nothing away from the women who have actually been through the worst. Assault against women is real, and it happens, and any person who contributes to it deserves nothing but the worst. Based on what I've said in this video, you probably think I'm Trevor Bauer's #1 supporter, jumping up and down with pom-poms at any chance to support him. And if you really do think that, you're wrong. I'm not saying Trevor Bauer is a saint. He's far from it. He can definitely come across as an asshole or someone who is just kind of toxic. I mean, I told you earlier about how he disrespected his manager Terry Francona in front of the entire world to see. That never sat right with me. I think a lot of his antics and attitude may be a personal vendetta he has against others, considering Bauer has openly talked about being bullied and not fitting in when he was younger. And he's always had beef with other players, stemming back to college when he was teammates with Garrett Cole at UCLA. And the two seem to have animosity toward each other to this day. Bauer is no saint, and undoubtedly deserves some criticism for the way he is and can be. But that doesn't mean he can't also be innocent and deserving of playing on a Major League Baseball team at the same time. I think too often the people who speak on situations like the one that Trevor Bauer has gone through since the summer of 2021 think they need to pick sides, that they need to be as extreme as it gets. You either hate Bauer and you want him dead, or you love him and think he's 1000% an innocent man. And the point I'm making here is that doesn't ever have to be the case. I always prefer looking at things for what they are rather than looking at things through the lens I want to see them in. And from all the information, talk, and evidence I've gathered throughout these last 2+ years, what I've come to conclude is that Trevor Bauer isn't a great person. He's not a model citizen who deserves to be given an award for being so awesome of a human being. He has flaws. He's made enemies, burned bridges, made some stupid mistakes, and also needs to be smarter about what women he gets himself involved with. Despite that, does he deserve to have his name dragged through the mud? Does he deserve to be blackballed by Major League Baseball? Does he deserve the longest suspension in the game's history? No, he doesn't. It's like the quote-unquote journalist, Molly Knight, who was with the site The Athletic at the time, who reported that Trevor Bauer fractured the skull of Lindsay Hill. At that time, The Athletic literally had copies of Hill's medical records which showed there was no fracture, yet Knight decided to report that Bauer had fractured her skull anyway. She basically knowingly spread fake news, and if you go to her Twitter account now, surprise surprise, she has it set to private. So she knowingly spreads false information to hurt someone's reputation, and instead of taking responsibility for anything, proceeds to hide. Trevor Bauer isn't perfect, shocker. Nothing about him or anyone is perfect, and like I said, I can actually understand why people may not like him. And say what you want about him, but I think we can all agree Bauer doesn't have a music career in his future.
Oh, you're an angel, whoa, and I love you so. Across time and space, I will never feel alone.
Shut up, just shut up.
Look into your eyes, I see myself inside, staring back in mine, telling me to hide. I'm so
shut the hell up, oh, shut up.
Mystified with you, girl, why? Could be how we smile wide when we're spending time, yeah, let me get to telling.
Shut the hell up.
Mystified with you, girl, why? Could be how we smile wide when we're spending time, yeah, let me get to telling what.
But that doesn't make it okay to blindly believe accusations, especially when all the evidence points toward the fact that you shouldn't and that you would be wrong to do so. This is about more than just Trevor Bauer. This is bigger than Trevor Bauer. Bauer is just an example, a pretty big example, but an example nonetheless of what can happen to anybody. And what needs to be known and understood is whatever your previous opinions are on someone, that whether you like this someone or not, none of that should ever factor into the serious accusations put forward against them that can hurt their life. It's not about believing all women, or believing all men, or believing someone just because they look or speak a certain way. It's about believing the truth. And the truth in this circumstance is that Lindsey Hill is kind of a wreck herself. There's a video of her being completely unhinged at a Morgan Wallen concert.
Me too. No, actually, fuck you.
She's drunk already.
I mean, she was also literally arrested in May of this year, 2023, for drunk driving. That's the truth, along with the fact that she planned to set Trevor Bauer up back in 2021 to ruin his reputation and go for his money. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Believe none of what you hear and only half of what you see. Look at things for how they are and never take a side just because it's a man or a woman. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.